Hey, everybody. Welcome to Business Inspiration. I am Dana at CoachDanaInspires.com, and we are so glad you're here today. We have a fabulous guest today, and that is Billy Arcement, and he is the Candid Cajun. What on earth does that mean? You're going to find out because we're going to find out what success in leadership really means. So welcome, Billy. We are so happy
Thank
to have
you.
you here.
My
How are
pleasure.
you doing? What are you up to today?
I'm semi-retired, been speaking 40 years, part-time, some of that, full-time, half of that time. And the COVID obviously drove business for speakers just down the well. So I'm pivoting a bit and learning new skills, even at my age, learning how to podcast, learning how to do what you and I are doing on Zoom, and then looking at my business and trying to see where I can innovate and renovate to make it better and stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everything, what you just said, that's what all of our viewers need to be doing is we need to be reassessing and readjusting to make our business still grow. And speaking of our businesses, you have clients, you have colleagues, business associates. We've gone through a year of COVID, kind of coming out. Now we have some new challenges. What are you hearing from your colleagues about? Are they being positive, optimistic? What do you think?
I think what I'm getting most of all in reading and seeing and research and just talking to people in general, that the workplace dynamics has shifted to a whole new level of whatever we want to call it. Uh, my grandson has been working at home almost for a year. Um, Another grandson by marriage, same thing. And they have two entirely different job sets. Um, One is corporate, the other is in chemical plants. So it doesn't matter. It looks like that the dynamics of the workplace will change. The scheduling and the way you work will change. More remote work like we're doing
Mhm.
in my business, in your business. That's what we're shifting. We're pivoting. I've heard that word. Just read it.
Yes.
So I think businesses are pivoting to whatever it takes to survive, and that will take a myriad of looks. I got one client I've been trying to catch, and I have not caught him yet. And I thought for a while their business had just disappeared, and they were an excellent client. Um, so I finally got a number and found that they still were in existence, but I haven't talked with him yet. He's on my schedule this week. I want to see what's happening in his industry.
Sure. Yeah, I think every industry, we all kind of have some things that are similar, but different industries are going to be doing something different. I think that's a good point too, that we need to be aware and not always this way. We need to be looking this way. So that's great. And so as entrepreneurs, business owners, what are we going to do? What should we do right now, to keep this thing moving forward? What do you think?
I think, as I just said, and I'm looking at myself as the example when I share this message, is I'm searching for the best option. As I told you in our pre call, I'm looking seriously, and I will go into podcasting probably beginning next month. I'm not sure where that's going to lead. It's kind of a way of speaking without an audience in front of you, and maybe that's why I'm drawn to it. And I'm going to look at other things. I'm a little bit different posture than you, or perhaps people that are younger than me. Uh, I won't say I'm retired. I never will do that. But I'm not as ambitious or enterprising as I used to be. There's no need for that for one thing, and number two is family for me trumps work.
Oh
I
yeah.
wrote a whole book about three priorities of life: God, family, work, in that sequence. And when you make decisions in life, real decisions, those are the priorities that you make them in. So I'm we have a large family. I have 10 grandkids, five great grandkids, another one,
Wow.
well, four great grandkids, one coming this month. Um, so between the in-laws and the marriages and and my kids and their families, we stay real busy interacting with family. They all live decently close right now. Somebody's going to go to Boston soon. That kind of freaks me out, but it is what it is. They got to make a living. So you just got to look around and pivot, as I said earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Billy, when we opened this up with you're the candid Cajun.
Yeah.
Billy. Where did you come up with branding candid Cajun? Tell us that story.
Are you familiar with there's a speaker that I did work with. I won't say who it is right now. But I looked around at me and I said, what am I? Who am I? What do I represent? What have I been? I've always been candid. My mother used to say, don't ask Billy something unless you're willing to hear what the answer is, because he will tell you. I believe in being truthful with anybody you deal with. I don't like liars, and I don't like to lie. And I tell my clients, it's good if you never lie, you don't have to remember what you said. And I think that's a good axiom to remember. You don't have to lie. Just say the truth and face whatever comes with it. So I'm very candid. And one of my branding issues as a speaker was that I use Cajun humor. It's called The Stories of Boudreaux and Thibodeau, two infamous Cajun fools, so to speak, because there's always a funny story, and one of them is always the fool of the story. But I love those stories. I grew up hearing them, and I resisted for 20 years using them in my programs. And in 2000, when I went full-time doing this, I made a strategic decision to put the stories in. And I will tell you, it's the smartest thing I ever did, because I've had audiences from coast to coast. Some of them know Louisiana people in it. Some of the people don't know what a Boudreaux or a Thibodeau is. And they would just laugh and enjoy the humor. So that's where the Cajun comes in. And I stumbled when I was working with a consultant on the candid Cajun. It kind of fits me pretty well.
I think it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
It's very, I think it's a real word picture of who you are.
Yeah.
And I would be very proud of that. So
I am.
You go. I think that's fabulous. I just think it's great.
Thank you.
And okay, so Mr. Candid Cajun dude, what made you focus on leadership? What is that about that you really are
That was a very, very easy decision, honestly, because I had my first leadership role at the age of 13 when I beat a girl for the class presidency. You have to keep in mind there were only about 12 kids in my class, but it wasn't that monumental of victory. And I managed to get one or two girls. At that age, they're kind of looking at boys a little seriously. So I beat a girl who had beat me the year before as class president. And I relished the leadership role. And I had a great encourager, Sister Mary Raphael, and I literally dedicated an entire book to her because she just changed my personality and encouraged me to be a leader and to go out and stretch and do things. And then I had a whole bunch of leadership things. No need to go through the list. In high school and college, I've been elected to public office. I actually served as state president of the School Board Association here in Louisiana. So I know how to get into a leadership role. And fortunately, I've been decent enough to be a good leader. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to lead. I'm very candid, to use that term again. Politicians never feared. I never feared politicians. Let me put it that way. Right. I've talked to governors. I've talked to senators and representatives in Congress very bluntly and very directly about their lack of support for education in the country or in the state. So I'm not embarrassed to be frank, but I always have one thing that I want to share with your listeners. I'm candid, but I call it caringly candor. Okay. I always try to be nice to people, but I'm straightforward and I don't mince words. I tell you what you need to hear or even what you don't like to hear. So being honest, it's really a core of my personality. And being a leader, it's just something I evolved into and love doing. So that's how I got it. I said, that's what I know a lot about.
Right.
And I've written a lot. My monthly column with the American Business Journal that goes around the nation is the leadership column. And I've done 100+ articles.
Wow.
So I've been with them a long time and gotten a lot of bounce from articles. So it's what I love. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I like that. But I really like your point, Billy, when you said, to be a leader, you need to be honest and candid, but in a caring way.
Yes.
I think so often, and I have certainly had some leaders who have been candid and very uncaring.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
when you can receive feedback, because that's one thing I think you're really wanting to share here is you want to give effective feedback, effective assessment of employees or coworkers or your team's performance, but you also want them to turn around and say, yeah, they're right, and I do need to change that, or I do need to look at this a different way. And I like the way they did it. I want to still follow you as my leader, and I just think. So, do you find that you get pushback on that you need to
No.
be, because a lot of people I would think would say, I don't have time to be caring. I just need to tell them what they need to do.
No, and if you're their boss, you need to correct them because it's your way that has to be done because it's effective, and I do know it's effective. I've had some pretty straightforward conversations with employees and supervisors that worked under my management when I was in the industry. And I had one guy say, and I overheard the conversation, said, you've never been evaluated till you've been evaluated by Billy. And he, because I had just gone through a very candid conversation about being bought out by another company and maybe us being laid off because of that and the whole ramifications of a buyout. And I had to be honest with him on his performance and my expectations to him to stay employed, for me to stay employed. So, and I always, here's this last thing I want to say about that. You don't just evaluate people and tell them what the issues are. You give them a growth plan. You give them a direction and a strategy to overcome all the obstacles that you say they have in front of them. And if you don't do that, that's a really bad disservice to your employees. So you always have a growth plan on the table. You always give them a chance to shine. I've let people that work for me give a report to my boss that I could have given because I'd have probably done it better. But I wanted to grow them. They had potential. Mm-hmm. And one of them in particular has a very good job now, thanks to me many years ago, that I brought him into a new company and introduced him and said, this is the guy you need to do the work you're looking for. And he's done a spectacular job for 15 or 16 years since that time. And I gave him a chance to shine. So upper management would see his potential. And as a result of that, give him a chance to manage and lead, which I eventually put him into a supervisory position. So you remediate in a nice way, but you give them a way to overcome.
Right. And isn't that, because you just can't beat somebody up, No. I have had those sorts of evaluations where, I'm not perfect, that's for sure. And I would love feedback on how I can do better on everything, not just my speaking, not just my books, but, how can I do this better? Last week, I was wearing a necklace and my mic kept clicking on the necklace, and somebody texted me and said, drop the necklace, and I was like, oh no. And I thought, oh, this is pretty. Well, yeah, it was pretty, but it was terrible. So feedback is so important, but so is what are some next steps to grow. And you are 100% correct, Billy. Thank you so much. And viewers, I hope you're listening to this. And it's not just, well, you might be saying, well, I don't manage people. I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. I don't need to care about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's true. Do you, Billy?
No, we either lead ourselves or we lead others. I wrote a whole book by that title, by the way. But that's how much I believe in it. And we have to be leaders of ourselves, and push ourselves and kick ourselves when we get lazy, which is a natural tendency we all have. So yeah, I think mastering leadership to me has been the best piece of knowledge and wisdom I've ever garnered in my whole educational career. Learning how to lead will open doors, and learning how to lead with caring, candor really helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know that you've written more than one book, and so we're probably going to touch on this here coming up, Billy. So I'm excited to share this with our visitors. So what are the 3 strategies to help us grow our leadership team?
Yeah, just so happens, let me see if I got this right. Help me out here, Dana. Okay.
There you go.
It just so happens I wrote a book about that. It's called Respect, Relationship Building, and Culture. Those are the 3 things, and I can quickly cover that for you. I think we don't have respect in today's society. So anybody that is respectful to me stands out as different in a good way, not in a way of being timid or shy. You have to have respect, but you have to have some grounds of tenacity to not let people push you around. So respect really works. You have to have relationships, no matter what you do, from family to business. Relationships make or break the relationship that you have, the way you do it, your skill set in making and building relationships. And the third thing is culture. Culture is kind of the overall environment in which your respect and your relationship building take place. Any business that will evaluate the level of respectability they have for employees and customers. We'll look at the relationships between customers and employees, and we'll look at the culture to see whether or not the culture actions are complicit or compliant with the 2 things that we say we need to have. And if you get an honest, candid assessment of that, I will tell you, you will be successful. It's going to happen.
Well, so what, you just touched on that, Billy, that really respect is so rare these days. And, some people blame technology and Facebook and Twitter and all that. But what can we do to sort of turn that around a little bit?
I think being very conscious of being courteous. A quick example. I'm a man, you're a woman, you're coming behind me into a building and I'm ahead of you. I open the door. I will not ever slam that door in your face. I don't care if you're white, black, green, yellow, old, young, it matters not. I will respect you by holding the door. I've done that for men. I only had one guy tell me, don't hold that door for me. But he had a problem. That's all I can tell you. But I think that's a simple thing, everyday thing you can do, holding a door for somebody, saying thank you, saying please, simple things that respect becomes part of your character. And then look for opportunities to be more respectful of people. I try to say not to be so timid that people take advantage of you. You can be too nice and people step on you like a stone in a pathway. You don't want to be that nice. I'm sorry. You got to have some firmness about you. But I think once you are respectful of people, they respect you. It reciprocates itself.
Right.
I had great employees. Have had great relationships. I've managed a lot of things in my lifetime. And I've always tried to be respectful of the people that work for me or with me, and respectful of the whole world, no matter who you are, and build that relationship, that bond where people like you, maybe not as much as you'd like them to like you, but at least they don't hate you. And then the last thing is to have a surrounding environment that permeates all the things that we need to be respectful in relationship building.
And I love that because I'm the kindness chick. So I wrote the book, You Have the Power of Kindness. And it's about taking those little steps. When you answer the phone, instead of, "Whoa," it's, "Hi, this is Dana. How can I help you?" Or say the company name and your name. Be polite. And when someone says, "Well, hi, how are you?" I always say, "I'm great. And how are you today?" And if I'm calling someone, this is, Billy, and how, I'm a customer service rep and I've been beat down a million times today. This poor, you can tell. And I always go, "Billy, how are you today?" Well, I'm fine. I can't tell you how many times people go,
yeah, I'm not used to that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. Kind of like, what? So building respect is using kindness to do that. Is finding ways to insert kindness into our everyday. And I think that goes along with our business.
Yeah,
as well.
I was on the phone for hours, literally, over a 2-day period with an Apple representative helping us transfer my iPad to my wife and getting rid of all of my stuff and putting her stuff on it. And we just struggled with it. And this lady was so nice. My wife said, "Can I send you flowers?" I mean, she was just incredibly nice. And you appreciate that.
Oh, you bet.
People
you
see
bet.
it.
Oh, and I love that. And when I get someone like that, when I get a customer service person like that, they always say, "Is there anything else I could do for you today?" I always say, A, I want you to have a great day.
Yes.
B, I want to speak to your manager because I want them to know what great customer service I got from you. And
Exactly.
9 times out of 10, they're like, "Oh, well, you don't have to. Oh, I was just doing my job." No,
Yeah.
no. You don't understand how wonderful it is to have a great experience like that. And and when I go to a restaurant, I always want to call the manager over if I had a great experience.
Yeah.
The server was so wonderful. Not, people are always up to complaining.
Customer service is an oxymoron today.
Yes.
I managed the global customer service and technical service institute in the chemical industry for 20 years. I created it. I brought it to fruition by asking management to do it. I could see my clients needed it. And I traveled around the world. It was a great experience talking to people that couldn't even speak English as well as I can. But we communicated. We got along well. One last cultural experience, I think, about being kind. I did a talk in Hong Kong many years ago for 150 business people from around the world. And I was one of 3 speakers featured at that conference. And I did one on attitudes and managing people. Kind of fits in what we talk about today. And at the end of the program, Dr. Henry Lee, I remember him distinctly. I can still see him standing in front of my stage, looking at me and pulling out a poem and reading a poem in my honor before 150 people. And then he sent me a whole book of poems. And I never met the man. I never got to see him one-on-one. So I think people pick up that you are a nice person, which I try to be. They pick up that you are a spiritually based person, which I am. I don't preach my religion, but I try to live it in a way that you recognize that I have a religious mindset. And people recognize that. I've had people tell me things I don't have time to tell you about that experience on the platform, and they see your behavior, your character, and they sense you are this way. And I'm saying that if you're nice, you get nice back. And I in 1983, Henry Lee stood up and read that poem, and I still can see him and remember it like it happened yesterday. It was that profound a thing for me, and such an incredibly generous gift that he gave me. So.
Oh yeah, and I think people, if you're the real deal, they see it. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to just say, Billy, that you are the real deal. And I think our viewers can also see that as well. So just really fast, we are out of time, but really fast, what are those three things? Respect,
relationship building, and culture. You can go on Amazon and buy this book. You can order it from me. But more importantly, whether you buy the book or not, I want you to look at your organization and say, do I have an organization filled with respect, with building relationships with all the entities that we interact with? And do I have a culture that supports that and encourages those two other things? If you don't have that, you need to put them in place. If you have it, build it, hire, and just start counting your money because it's coming in.
Okay.
you will be profitable. Trust me.
I have to agree with that. Oh, Billy, our time is up. It's so crazy. 25 minutes is just never long enough. So this is how our viewers can get a hold of Billy. It's Billy at searchingforsuccess.com. Website, Searching for Success, cleverly enough. So if you want to find out more about Billy, find out what he speaks on, what he talks about, his books, this is where you can go and get some information. Contact Billy about, and if you want more information about this building culture that's centered around relationship and respect. Wow, we really need this in our lives today. Our world needs these messages. And Billy, I'm so happy that you were here today. If anyone has any questions, there's my information right there. Dana, CoachDanaInspires.com. And so we're going to just end this on a fabulous note. Billy, thank you so much for being here and sharing this information. And get out there, if you can, get that book, Respect, Relationship, Culture, Billy Arcement. And until next Tuesday, everybody, get out there, be kind, and show some respect. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I say what Coach O says? Go Tigers. How's that go?
Go Tigers. Absolutely.
See you later. Thank you, Dana.